The Prime Minister has often boasted about inheriting a great family fortune. He's never had to worry about the cost of living, so it's no wonder that he doesn't worry when his policies drive up the cost for Canadians. His tax on gas, on home heating and groceries will hurt seniors, suburban moms and small businesses. And worse, government documents now show that by the year 2022, the carbon tax will have to be 6 times higher than Liberals now admit, driving up gas prices another whopping 70 cents a litre and home heating by another $1,000 a year. So, what is the full and final price of the Liberal carbon tax?
Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we have put forward a strong and robust plan to address climate change and to support Canadians through this transition. We have a plan, and it's perfectly okay, obviously, for people to ask questions or to criticize or to suggest improvements. What is not correct, Mr. Speaker, is to not recognize that the Conservatives have no plan to fight climate change. They have no idea how to fight climate change and prepare our economy for the future, to create the jobs of the future. They don't see it to be as a priority, and Mr. Speaker, that's where they're wrong. Canadians know, from wildfires to floods to droughts right across the country, we need to act on climate change, and they are not.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, it's the Liberal government that doesn't have a plan to reduce emissions in Canada. All their plan is a tax grab. The reason why we know it won't reduce emissions is because they've given a massive exemption to the largest emitters in Canada. The full cost of the carbon tax will fall to hardworking Canadian families, commuters, soccer moms, and small businesses. And worse yet, we know now that the carbon tax will be higher in the future. So, will the Prime Minister tell us what is the full and final price for the Liberal carbon tax?
Honourable Prime Minister.
Again, Mr. Speaker, if you'll notice, you'll see that the Conservatives do not want to address the question of what their alternative is, how they are going to fight climate change. We've been very clear. We're going to put a price on pollution. We're accelerating the phase out of traditional coal power. We're making historic investments in cleaner infrastructure. We're adopting regulations to cut methane emissions. We are moving forward in a way that is going to support families and protect them for the future, where the Conservatives have no plan at all, Mr. Speaker, and that's unacceptable.
Order, order. All members know that each side will have another chance to take part in this question and answer during question period, this process of debate. So I'd ask colleagues to try to be patient and wait for their turn. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, it's the Liberal government that has put a price of 0 for the largest emitters in Canada. They have granted a huge exemption to large emitters that can afford to hire lobbyists to get a special deal. Hard-working Canadian families, commuters, have to bear the full brunt of this Liberal carbon tax. And now we find out that the carbon tax will have to be even higher in the future. So if the Prime Minister claims that he doesn't mind getting questions, will he answer the simple question, what is the full and final cost of his carbon tax?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, unlike the Conservatives, we believe that emissions need to go down and that we need to continue creating good middle-class jobs for Canadians. So what the Conservatives are saying is actually factually wrong. We have set a target for industry to reduce pollution. If they fail to meet that target, they pay the price. If they do better, for example through innovation, they are rewarded. Our plan will also give money directly to households where the federal backstop applies. The only mystery here is why the Conservatives refuse to have a plan themselves.
Order. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Speaker, they've granted a huge exemption. That is from their own documents. And when a company goes over that target, they don't pay a tax. They can purchase offsets. So they have come up with a scheme that allows the country's largest emitters to avoid paying the carbon tax. But that special deal is not available to hardworking Canadian families, commuters, suburban moms, or small and medium-sized businesses who have to pay the full brunt. We know what the costs are going to be today. What will the full and final cost be for the carbon tax in the future?
Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, there are two reasons why the Conservatives are so worked up about our plan. First of all, they have no plan that they can talk about. And secondly, in provinces where the federal backstop applies, Canadian households will be receiving more from the climate action incentive than the cost of pricing pollution. That means that the ones who will pay are the companies who pollute the most. Conservatives like Stephen Harper and Doug Ford and this current leader are so ideologically against any environmental protection, they want to take that money away from Canadians. While Conservatives want to make pollution free again, we're putting it...
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
It's this government's plan that makes emissions free for the largest emitters, and Conservatives are ideologically opposed to a tax that raises the cost of living for Canadians. That will be the choice in the next election, Mr. Speaker. Now, this Prime Minister has failed in so many areas, but there's one file that he is succeeding in. He went around the world and bragged about his plan to phase out Canada's energy sector. And sad to say, it's working. He's chased out new pipeline proponents. He's bringing in a bill that will ensure that no future pipeline gets built. Will the Prime Minister do the right thing and scrap Bill C-69?
Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, when the Conservatives talk about scrapping Bill 69, which is focused on giving tighter timelines, a single project, single evaluation, and respond to the concerns of industry, when they talk about scrapping Bill C-69, they actually mean let's go back to SIA 2012 that Harper put forward. That was an absolute failure for industry. It was a failure in getting anything built, and it would be a disaster for the oil and gas industry, like for industries right across this country. We will not do that.
The Honourable Leader.
Mr. Speaker, what the Prime Minister is trying to do is try to convince Canadians that his reckless actions haven't had an impact on the energy sector. But here's the reality. Under the Conservative government, 4 major pipeline projects were built by private sector dollars, increasing our capacity to ship our energy to markets by over 1 million barrels a day. There were 3 pipeline projects on the book when he took over. 2 are completely dead, and 1 is on a lifeline with no plan to move it forward. So, will the Prime Minister do the right thing and scrap his No More Pipeline bill?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we've known for a long time, listening to the energy, that their #1 priority is getting our oil resources to markets other than the United States. That has been something they have asked for a long time. Stephen Harper and his Conservatives worked very, very hard to try and get that done, and they didn't get it done for 10 years, Mr. Speaker. We are moving forward in a significant way, in the right way, understanding that working with environmental groups, respecting community interests, partnering with Indigenous peoples is the only way to get things done right.